So I hope everybody's doing well and you're excited about moving on through this. We're not going to go through the homework. You guys sent me a lot of good stuff, so I appreciate that. If you and I don't think this was even the one that we did. So let's talk quickly. So this one is all about wrapping up, putting all your sort of knowledge together and doing garden assessments. And you pros out there, we're going to be going through some stuff, and these are all sort of suggested procedures. And if you see something that is just glaringly overlooked, I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure some of the other people just starting out would love to hear from you as well. And as I told the underwear salesman the other day, please be brief. Okay, so keep it short, but comments are welcome. So we're going to go through putting it all together. Estimate the age of the garden, identify plants, soil, irrigation, client needs. It's really about how kind of going through a client's garden. Estimate health of garden and individual plants, identify problems, pests, pruning, watering, soils, mulch, etc. Troubleshoot problems, create a cost analysis and a work plan, promote your certification, talk with clients, know how we will promote you, and know what to charge and what to expect. Every time. Yeah. So garden assessment. So this is sort of, so if you look on page 135 of your student handbook, you'll see a garden assessment. And this is just one, that they whipped up, an example of something that might help you remember about the questions that you would ask, sort of procedure you would go through as you visit a client. So helps you not forget certain things. So let's see. I'm always trying to move this window around so I can read it. Age of garden. So from earlier lessons, you have learned that the first 3 to 4 years of a native garden represent changes that are different from conventional gardens with their instant results and uniformity of look. Look closely at the garden to identify what phase of development it is in. Are there small, recently planted 1 gallon size plants? Are the trees established? Is there a mix? So I guess it's just, this is where you're starting. Now, I think you would start, you're starting way before then. You're probably checking out their property on Google Map. You're probably going to print out something so that you're arriving prepared with, although those aren't always up to date, but it's a good it's probably going to get you started. You're probably, there's just so many questions, so many variables. Let me see what the next slide is here. Yeah, so oh geez. Okay, here we go. So this is the first page of the student handbook, and you're going to start with your client's name and all blah blah blah. You're going to bring your Google image most likely. You're going to start looking at the age of the garden, the overall appearance, and then you're going to start going through the plants. You're going to look, is there a plant list available from the owner? Is there, were you recommended by a designer who you have a relationship with? Maybe you've already got that all in hand, and of course, there's a reason why you're there. So they're going to tell you what that is. A lot of times it's, look, I'm just gonna say, I work at Theodore Payne. I don't go working on people's gardens in this manner. So that's again why I wanted to open it up to the pros. I'm gonna tell you what I know of this and some of the experience I've had. And I feel a little shy because I'm sort of imagining how I would proceed and how we teach this course. So I'm just keep that in mind. So I'm going to start with a Google image. I'm going to find out why I'm there. The person's going to say, well, I've got these issues over here. I've got this issue. And as you're going around, you're also going to make your own observations, and you're going to tick them off on something like this, you know. Let's see, you might ask them who was taking care, was somebody else taking care of this property before you? And find out what they were doing, you know, why they moved on or whatever. So that's probably going to come up in your conversation. At some point, you're going to be talking about a budget. That may be farther down the line. Is there a deadline or a timeline? They want to get something done before they have a party. They just want to get, you know, whatever. Use your imagination why somebody might be in a hurry. And then you're going to go through, let's see, what's the next one? Age of Garden, we talked about that. That's on the list. Plants, you're going to have your plant list, hopefully, from the owners. If they don't have one, you're going to take pictures. And if you know them right off the bat, maybe you write them down, but you're taking pictures because you're not going to remember them. And maybe you don't know exactly what they are at that moment, and you might have to do a little research. So ask about major trees or features, what and when they were installed. So, you know, everything on the property, all the plants on the property you're going to be looking at. Look for stress, disease, dying plants, of course. Are there any invasive plants, weeds? Is fire, this again, why are you there? Is firescaping part of why you're there? What is their current maintenance? Yeah, so is there somebody, I don't know, it seems kind of odd, like if somebody was already taking care of the place, why are you there? Maybe you're there specifically to identify native plant problems, or who knows, or solve a specific issue. The other thing is you're going to, you know, in the plant section or somewhere, you're going to notice like whether this is a full-on native garden or this is some kind of hybrid garden, or it's, you know, maybe they're like, well, we have all these plants, but we want to transition into natives, and that's why you're there. Who knows? But the focus of what the client wants is going to be very high priority. And then it's also important to sort of you'll get the vibe, like how's the owner describing this garden? You know, you have your own assessment, but how do they, you know, are they calling it messy? You know, are they calling it, it looks too dry or something like that? And you'll start to quickly sort of suss out what their aesthetic is, maybe just by walking into it, but also by hearing their words. So then you're going to, then you're looking at the shade. So the environmental, the various microclimates of the place, you know, are you number of trees, neighbors, trees, structures. It might be good with that Google Doc or Google image, you know, you might start just shading in on the thing itself or the paper itself, where the shade might be. Are there water features, you know, outdoor rooms? So where do they like to be? Where do they like to spend their time? How do they like to use the garden? You know, is there enough room to do what they want to do? If they have a fire pit, do they have a, you know, something that isn't appropriate there? Things like that, you know, do they have pokey plants around where their little toddler is running around? Things like that, okay? And you're gonna check your soil mulch and just, you know, you've got this checklist, and being aware, hopefully from this class, you start to understand what the issues might be with these various subjects. So look for signs of compacted clay, hydrophobic soils, drainage issues. Yeah, you'll probably be able to identify the drainage issues, but you'll also be kind of keeping an eye on what the slope of the garden is, and you'll, yeah, I would, usually you can walk in, you know, you can smell the soil, especially if it's a especially bad drainage in a certain area, or you can just notice that something's going on there. Look for signs of erosion, you know, rivulets, or sort of like water, signs that water is just running down a path or something along those lines. Or is there dirt on the sidewalk? Is there mulch on the sidewalk as the result of either just natural rainfall or irrigation issues? So those things. Is there mulch? What kind? Seems kind of obvious. Okay. Okay, then you're going to go and maybe give it an overall assessment. So is it healthy, needs work, or needs major improvement? So breaking it down in 3 basic categories. You're also going to be, we'll get into this, but you know, maybe they want to pull out their turf, you know, so now you can start talking to them from an educated place about what that would look like. You're going to look at their irrigation controllers and start to, you know, check out their irrigation system altogether. So here we are at irrigation. Check the irrigation system. Does it work? That's a question. So a lot of times it's, you know, sometimes you get a brand new homeowner and they're like, I have no clue if it works or not, or they've never turned it on, or who knows. So you're going to want to try, crank it up, see, you know, check out the various zones, see what's going on, see what the heads are, you know, that might inform you about, you know, can they get rebates? See the controller, check and see if the controller, you know, if you're working with natives, you're going to need a controller that works on longer than 7-day stretch. So something that you can program for, you know, maybe a month at a time, or set the intervals. So the one we use at the ones we use at TPF, you can tell it how many days in between watering. So 14 to 21 to 30 days in between waterings. So that's something. And then, yeah, again, looking for erosion. You're going to be looking for, do they have any infiltration pits, or how are they handling their water runoff from their gutters? Do they have gutters? You know, all that stuff. You're going to want to take note of where the main water line is coming in off the street. You probably wouldn't call them and have them mark it out for you before you have some kind of contract or agreement with the owner. But usually you can kind of tell, like, okay, where's the valve, where's the meter, and then you can tell where it runs up through the yard. And you know, it's just good to know where it is, where the main sewer line is. You're going to want to know that, because trees like to get into the sewer line. Also, oh yeah, is there a shut-off valve for just the irrigation system? If not, this is something you might want to install and charge for. Let's see. And then, okay, so giving it your grade, here are the 3 major categories as suggested in this lesson. Just quickly, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Yeah, so healthy would be no major issues. Natives are a full 3/4 of the garden. I don't know if that's a requirement for healthy, but okay. Irrigation system supports the garden efficiently without overwatering. No major pest issues or weed issues. Needs work. 1 major focus area for your services: irrigation, weeds, or plant health. Needs major improvement. The garden has more than 1 major issue. The budget may be limited. There may be an impending event, party, or HOA inspection that are causing the owners to stress. Now, okay, this will be fun. Hold on. Gosh, there was something else I was going to say there. So, pros, any insights or comments, or anybody, don't let me, I just imagine the pros might have some comments about this, but anybody, comments or questions?
I was just going to say that I go on suncalc.org, and I can put that in the chat, but that will show you the sun conditions of a site throughout the year, and you can type in any date. Just before I go there, I'll generally assess that.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so let's see.
I have a question.
Sure.
Has anybody here in this group ever worked with an HOA? And if so, what do they consider to be their biggest challenge?
Yes, I have. I'm currently working with the Mulholland Corridor Homeowners Association. Well, the plans have to be stamped by a landscape architect. That's one thing. And all the specifications on the plans are very technical and specific. I don't know. Do you have any more specific questions?
Sure. I'm been trying to lead the landscape project in my association for about 5 or 6 years now. And one of the biggest challenges for me was to try to help the people understand that there's a different kind of beauty going on. Like, we're transitioning to drought tolerant and native plant life in a community where they used to have a lot of grass and a lot of water, hydrangeas, and just a lot of other plants, and they want to see green. But it's taken me some time to try to say that, you know, there's a different type of landscape that we have to consider, but we haven't been very successful. And the biggest part, like I said last week, is the maintenance part. The plants can go in, but maintaining them, I have not been successful with landscapers who can maintain the new plants.
Yeah, I think maintenance is a huge issue, and I think that designers should offer either a maintenance manual specific to the plants and a maintenance person that would do the maintenance. Yeah, because a normal gardener isn't going to understand what they need. They're going to hedge plants in strange ways that don't need to be hedged. I'm sure you've seen that before.
Yeah,
Um, the other thing you were talking about was like trying to convince them to want to have native plants in their garden. And I think for me as a designer, really presenting the plants in their best form in the concept phase of designing through like a design packet displaying the plants can be convincing. I don't know. That's not too unique of insight,
Okay.
but
Okay, I'm gonna cut you guys off there. That is actually a really good conversation to have. I'm a little concerned that if we carry on too much, we won't squeeze it all in. So we're gonna move on, and we might have some suggestions for you later, Pauline, as we move through. Okay, so quickly, we're gonna have a little exercise here, and we're going to talk about some gardens. So here is number one. Okay, we don't know why we're at this garden, but what would you say about the newly installed garden on the left? Are we noticing anything? If somebody, let's say somebody calls you in and says, okay, I want you to take care of this garden. Let's look at it that way. Any thoughts?
There's a lot of open spaces, and we really need to be able to ID what the plants are to know if the spacing is proper for as the garden matures. That's usually a really big issue with people that may not be familiar with, especially native plant material, is
Yeah.
spacing. And I've seen a lot of times where there's tall plants put in front of low plants and so on, and making sure that the irrigation system was installed properly, and that it's running properly. That just, anyways, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. So just testing out the irrigation is a great place to start. And then, it's brand new and newly installed. So tiny plants, understanding what they are. These are weird pictures, because I think what we're looking at here is we're looking at the front of the house in the first picture. In the second picture, we're looking from behind, and the rock is the indicator of what we're looking at here, I believe. So it's a little disorienting. So what would you think though, like in the first year, what are we going to be dealing with a brand new garden with all this open space?
Weeds,
Breeding.
but there's I mean, if they keep the mulch 3 inches, 3 inches thick, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But you know what I found is interesting is I found that a lot of weeds are actually brought in the containers with the plant material, especially I can't think of the name of it, but there's that one particular one that just was really, really low growing, looks like a little clover or something. But anyways,
Yeah.
a lot of weeds are brought in the planting containers, and they're not always cared for removed properly, or even removed at all.
Yeah. Weeds really stick out to me. Just some quick thoughts. Might think about doing some pinch pruning on some of these smaller plants, depending how they look. You got a rain chain coming down here behind this rock. There's an infiltration pit. You're going to want to keep an eye and make sure that operates properly, doesn't spill over, flood out plants nearby. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. What do you guys think about the grown-in picture on the right?
I think it looks nice.
it's, they're leaving space for maintenance, and although
Yeah.
you gotta pull weeds, and, I'm sure that's gonna grow, you're gonna grow a lot of weeds, anywhere with,
Yeah.
but, I think it looks.
Yeah, I think it looks good too. I guess it looks like a Yankee Point ceanothus, low growing ceanothus. Some Abutilon palmieri, the yellow flowered plant in the right-hand corner, and then maybe some St. Catherine's lace, Sphaeralsia perhaps. But it, looks pretty reasonable. Any other comments before I move on to the next one? Okay,
I may have put maybe the some of the larger plants maybe in the back, but unless you have a full view of the entire yard and know which the viewpoints are, it's a little hard to tell. But usually do that layering effect where you're putting the low stuff in front, mediums,
yeah. It's a good.
I have a comment on that. I was actually thinking that it was a good idea to put some tall plants on the back, because if you think about the view from inside the house, and look at that cul-de-sac type of driveway, then you want to, if you can cover the cars that are parked in the front and some of the street, and, you give more privacy to the garden from the inside out.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, it's possible you might want to put something also in front of the front window, depending on their privacy, whatever they want, what kind of privacy they want to experience. Also, I think it's kind of like, this is the one on the left is you walk in, it's like, well, it looks like we got some yarrow and all these plants. It's like, let's wait and see, especially if a designer has handed it over to you, I wouldn't start second guessing a designer's design before you get in and let the plants grow a little bit. So 28 months, at 28 months, maybe that's the time when you're like, maybe we, think about adding on if it's necessary.
Hey, Eric, that's a problem with critiquing gardens without having the background information.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're playing a little game here. Let's look at this one on the left. Newly installed, obviously. Any thoughts, anyone? Okay, let's move on. And then it looks like 1 year later, we've got a pretty well-grown. Okay, so Pauline says bland on the newly installed. I think newly installed is always going to look bare, and you just have to bear with it. Moving on a year later, that Parkinsonia has come in. Geez, that's a lot of growth for 1 year there. Any thoughts?
I have
Yeah.
concerns that the Parkinsonia is in with all those other plants when I feel like it should be in a much more arid spot.
Possibly,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of like those irises or whatever they are probably water loving plants, and the Palo Verde is not.
Right.
I mean, I think the Palo Verde can like have a, overgrowth in its first few years by being overwatered, and then what happens?
Interesting.
I have to agree, because I've seen that happen before. That's a real issue. When you're placing trees in the landscape, you have to be really careful and think ahead about size and water requirements. I completely agree with that.
There's a golf course, the Arroyo Seco golf course has a good number of Palo Verdes, like, planted right around the perimeter, right in the golf course lawn. Like, how, I don't know how that's going to survive in the long
Yeah.
run.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it's some, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
what would you say? So what else are we noticing about this Palo Verde?
I have my hand raised.
Oh, well, please speak up. Yeah, feel free.
This is one of my pet peeves. I see that the Palo Verde is staked right after
Yeah.
installation and 1 year later. I hate that. The poor
Ding,
tree,
ding, ding.
Cambium, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if you see this like 3 years later, it's just a crime against plants.
yeah. Ding, ding, ding. You got it. So yeah, you're gonna want to keep an eye on that. You gotta help that tree develop a strong trunk, proper staking, learn how to do it if you're working with trees for sure.
Hey, Eric, I just have to
yeah.
say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to the landscape and I've seen the trees properly staked with the proper, rubber bungees, whatever the heck, I forgot what they're called.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, tree supports, and then they have left the stake that came in the planting container right up against the tree. It's just incredibly annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so, you see all things, right? So, but not this group. This group is not going to do that. No, you're not. Okay, moving on to the next one. Newly installed versus 4 months later. Comments on newly installed. Shall we look at the DG down at the bottom?
Erosion.
Yeah, looks like we got something going on there.
Mm.
When I see DG going right up to the edge of the sidewalk, I get nervous because that almost always spills off onto the sidewalk. You can tell this is a slightly sloped front yard. Maybe you can make an argument for if it was flat, but when it's slightly sloped like this, and you can see the little rain pattern or water patterns in it. So that's something to be aware of.
I'm sorry, how would you suggest or where would you stop the DG? You want to do DG. It
Yeah.
seems like the natural stopping point would be at the end of the other border that's there.
Designers chiming in.
I always try to strongly discourage DG anywhere where people are going to be walking
Yeah.
or where there's a slope. Absolutely not on a slope, and with caution when it's going to be used for a path or an area for foot traffic.
Okay.
It's also,
slippery?
it's a safety issue. It's actually can be really slippery on a slope, depending on, of course, what you're stepping onto. But if it's on a sloped cement, it can be dangerous.
How about just an ugly issue?
Yeah. Okay.
Aesthetics is out. Anyway.
Okay. So also, one thought is that they're kind of losing out on a infiltration opportunity here in the corner. They've dammed off with the border, whatever that stuff is called. I forget right now, drawing a blank.
Underboard.
Yeah, bender board. They've completely taken away the opportunity for the water to flow in and to capture here in the corner. What a great opportunity that is right there. And so they're just shuttling the water off to the hardscape into the gutter or the street. Okay, moving on. 4 months later, how do you guys feel about this? Anyone? Hope this is not anybody's house here.
I mean, are the plants too close together?
Hey, yeah, might be. Yeah, might be. Yeah, you've got 4 months later, so you not even a year in, and these look like, I'd say, Verbena delamina. So Verbena lilacina delamina. just from the flowers and the foliage. Those can get pretty good size, 3 to 4 feet, and they're gonna bump into each other. Who knows what the intention is, right?
The
Anything
clients like
else?
them to be pretty full right off the bat, so maybe they just were gonna take out the middle one or something.
Possibly, yeah, that is possible, yeah. So,
You can't really see, but the one next to the rock doesn't look very healthy.
on the right or the left?
On the left,
Yeah, there's something going on there. It's kind of hard to tell, yeah, but it does look a little, maybe a little sad. Okay, last one, here it comes. Oh, there's the last garden I designed. No, I'm kidding. So thoughts? Let it blast away.
Need more mulch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the question is, why does the mulch have the pattern it has?
It's not very sticky mulch.
Yeah.
Like,
Something's
it
going
might
on.
be excessive watering.
Exactly.
Yep. We see some really dark patches here. Yep.
Sloped at all?
Other thoughts?
It is a slight slope, so that it looks like from the excessive water, the mulch is just drained, gathered to the bottom.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say, right? I'm guessing it's probably not the irrigation that caused this, but more of a, my experience would be that it would be rainfall that might trigger something like this. But you would want to see if they have irrigation and see what's going on there.
Would building berms around the new plants help with this?
Yeah, you could build berms, you can do that. Yeah, barriers, so the mulch isn't traveling down the slope I believe would help.
I think the thing is that you really need to look at a big picture and look at where is this water coming from? And,
Yeah,
berms may only be around the plants, may only be, a quick fix. You really need to find out what the source is and how to divert that source, whether it's a basin or whatever is necessary.
yeah, yes. Anything else? How does the health of the plants look?
A lot of dead plants. Leaves are dead in the center.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of dead woody material in and around the plants.
Mm-hmm. It looks like they have a manzanita. It looks like a manzanita here in the center. So they're kind of like waiting for that to become a centerpiece at some level, possibly. Yeah, and this, okay, so down in the left, it looks like we have some kind of salvia, and it just looks kind of hacked, as far as its pruning or its care. Somebody just like hacked away at, you see all the sticks sticking out. So yeah, obviously it needs some care and, a serious refresh and some weeding. So, yeah, anyway, again, John is absolutely right. So we're just kind of playing a game with a photo. This is not us walking around with that list and really getting a picture of what's going on. I mean, you might see where the water's running through this garden and be like, oh, okay, we need to address that. So, yeah, let's see what the next thing is. I'm just gonna click through here real quick. Oh. Okay, let's take a little 5 and then we'll come back and then we'll continue on. Okay, 5 minutes.
Stephanie. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Okay, are you Stephanie Spites or the other Stephanie?
I'm
Stephanie
Stephanie.
Chan-
Stephanie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, please drop your complete address, in a direct message because you only gave me a street and no city or state or zip.
I did? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
please and thank you.
Okay, no problem.
And please make sure you do it as a direct message so that no one knows your business. If anyone is listening and they want to take the survey now, I dropped it in the chat. The survey helps us improve the program and lets us know what is working and what's not. So take a few minutes and fill out the survey, please.
Okay. Am I still sharing? There we go. Okay, are we back? Okay, let's let's roll. I just want to make sure we get through all this stuff and you guys have time to take your survey, all of that. So I'm gonna continue. So here we are. I really want this window to go somewhere else. Be smaller. Can we do, oh, nope. That. All right. Anyway, so in order to come to an agreement on tasks, so now you've walked through, you've got your list of stuff, your assessment, and now it's suggesting that you come to an agreement on tasks and a larger plan must be in place. Take your checklist and turn it into a repository of information with these steps. Create the map and all important info, including the high points, low points of the garden. Keep that in mind. Direction of the water flow. Identify problems, IPM issues, irrigation issues, all that stuff you've already located. You've found the utility connections, the condition of the controller, if there is one. I think, yeah, so these are the sort of steps, and I think we're going to walk through these one by one. Set priorities with the owner, document this back to the owner and update annually. So identify the problems. You're going to list your key concerns, and probably rank them, the things that the owner brought you out there for, probably something very specific, maybe you're out there, is it an IPM issue? The plants look bad. Too many weeds. Could it be pruning, soil, mulch? Are the plants appropriate? Is it something with irrigation? So let me see. Hold on. Yeah, so you're going to so you got your list. Let's say it's 6 things. Maybe the client says, I've brought you out here for these things, and hey, I noticed this, and this might be impacting those issues that you're having. So you're going to come to an agreement. It all depends on why you're out there. Are you there to take care of everything, or they just want you there for that specific thing? Or, if you come up with 6 things, maybe the client's like, whoa, slow down. Maybe you set a priority on 2 or 3 things and take care of those, and then and sort of make a proposal for those things, and then you leave the other things on the table for later. This is kind of like, this is telling you what you did as far as your walkthrough. So you're going to go home with all this information, whatever the list of priorities are with the client. You're going to go home and basically type up a proposal for them, and then and send it off to them. Do they want you there for years to come, and you're creating like a quarterly plan for them, or an annual plan for them? Or are you just there to fix the one issue? So you're going to tally all this stuff up and get back to them. And oh yeah, Emilio, hit it.
Sure, I have a question about that. The people who have most experience on this, maybe they can want to chime in.
Yeah.
What is the ideal, or what people are looking for? I mean, is it for the maintenance plan? Do they look for, depends on the project, obviously, but are most of your clients will hire you for, the whole year or 2 years or 3 years? Will you draw a contract? Will you, how many months out do you come in and visit? That sort of thing. I'm very curious to know what the average is.
I can speak to my experience, which is that when people invest in doing the construction, they definitely want to invest in the maintenance, because you don't want all of your effort, and investments to go to naught because you're neglecting these living things that, they're like, there's that ABCs, right? Always be closing. With the first time I meet somebody, I start telling them, you need to be taking care of this, even though it's low maintenance, it's not no maintenance. I go on and on about that. And most people, we start off with weekly and then dial it down to annual over the 3 or 4 years. But some people, they'll do like weekly for the first 3 months, and then they'll say, oh, we got this. And then a year later, they're like, no, we don't have it. And it's expensive then. And so then I explained to them, like, if you had us taking care of this every few months, you wouldn't have this problem now. And then, the best thing to do is just try to work with the person and what their needs are. Because some people really want fussy gardens, where every leaf is in the right place. And then other people like it a little less manicured and, more wild and more nooks and crannies for birds and habitats. So I think that's, just as long as people understand that the cost depends on like how fussy they want it, then you can have a nice long-term relationship, because you can always dial it, so that it's working for everybody. It's working for you as a professional. It's working for them as, somebody who has other responsibilities and wants to also be responsible for their garden. I don't know if that was helpful, but.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. All right, we're going to skip that. So something to take a look at if you're new to the sort of maintenance schedule thing, and you're going to look at 139 of your student handbook, and this just kind of outlines these things that you'll be doing. Let's say somebody hires you to take care of their garden. Let's just make that assumption, and you're not quite sure when to do what, how often, things like that. So this is just sort of a checkbox, what you'll be doing, in the January through March. Let's split it up into quarters, right? January through March, you're going to be sowing your wildflowers. You might be planting still, or you most likely will be planting. And this goes on for 2 pages. So it's just a good thing that, like, okay, when will I be doing these things? And of course, the whole pruning thing has to do with what the goal of the garden is and the plants that are in it. And right. So like we talked a lot about that last week. Then you get into, you got your pruning. Yeah, you're going to be removing. Part of it is removing the spent wildflowers, right? That takes some time. Pest control, you'll be keeping an eye on all that stuff. Fire ordinance compliance, that's a really good one. That, like, everybody gets those messages. In my neighborhood, I'm in Eagle Rock. So we all get a notice. You got to be in compliance. So all that kind of stuff. You might want to start your design. If you're adding to the design, you want to start making those plans and getting those conversations going with your client before the actual planting season comes, so you can plan it out, get some good thoughts, and not be in a rush. Okay, so here's a quick list. Professionals, I'd love to, I'm gonna like to hear this. Top professionals from throughout the state of California list their top garden issues. Overplanting, pruning because of overplanting, ants, gophers, weeds, availability of plants in local nurseries, and left off the list are watering issues, overwatering or underwatering, especially with natives, right?
I have to say, Eric, that is, there's two issues I've found over all the years I've done this, especially as a landscape architect: excessive watering, and of course, as we're talking about today, just really bad maintenance. So yeah, but overwatering is key, really key to getting that under control.
Yeah, everybody thinks that watering is the answer. Like, gardens look bad, crank it up, give it more water. That is, it's kind of this odd knee-jerk reaction. And maybe it's not odd. Maybe that is a solution in other parts of the country. It's not definitely not the solution with natives. You need to be a little more aware of their requirements. And that's the goal of this class, right? Okay. Basic troubleshooting steps. So you're handed a garden and it's got these issues, you're going to have to go through and solve some of these problems. So this is basic troubleshooting steps for whether you're, I don't know, fixing almost anything. Understand the problem, make a plan, execute the plan, see if the problem got solved. So understand the problem. Look to answer these questions. Is the issue unique to native plants in the landscape, or does it require a different approach? Okay, so yeah, is it unique to native plants in the landscape, or does it require a different approach with native plants? So for instance, are these plants going dormant? Dormancy is something that a lot of people just aren't familiar with. So that's an example of that. Although, some people are aware that leaves drop, or trees drop their leaves, but sometimes, like with a ribes going dormant, that thing looks dead, if you're not aware of what is going on with the plant. So and no amount of water is going to make that thing leaf out. Do you have a similar situation that worked with other plants? So this might be a watering issue, or who knows, it's just you're building your experience. You've have experience with salvias, and you starting to notice, oh, this doesn't look right. This is overcrowded. This is getting too much water again. Is this plant unknown to you and therefore not well understood? So you have to do your research. Get that iNaturalist app working, talk to your friends, take pictures, get on the boards and ask questions. And you don't, like, in the moment, it might be, I don't know this plant real well, let me look into it, it might be that kind of situation. Do you need to ask a native plant? So same thing, native plant expert a question to get the answer. So of course, there's not just Theodore Payne, many other nurseries with a lot of information out there. There are usually like Reddit boards and things you can talk to, and you can get pretty good answers from people. You're going to get a lot of opinions, and just don't get it. When you get out there in the public, you might get some stuff. The conversation might go farther than you want it to, but so be careful about that. Make a plan and list patterns. Make an orderly list, eliminate any possible solutions you might already know about, look for a pattern, document changes and photos. Devise a plan that uses your own skill and judgment. So patterns are like, oh, they're putting the wrong plant in the wrong place, too much shade, not enough sun, or not enough shade, things like that. They've got something out there that's just cooking in the sun and it shouldn't be. You put together, like I said, your intuition, you understand the genuses in general, and then you can start to put the sort of problem solving thing down. One thing, execute the plan. This step is usually harder than devising the plan, because this must take place in the field on one of your regularly scheduled visits, or the homeowner must know they will be billed for the extra work. So yeah, that sounds more like you just showed up and there's an issue that you weren't expecting. That would be under your own that would be under your sort of agreement with the owner. Something talking about implementing, understanding the problem. So if you've got that, you're going to use that IPM list where you kind of go through. So if it's specifically an issue with the plant, and maybe you're not familiar, you don't know what's going on, let's say that, because if you know what's going on, you know what to do. If you don't know what to do, where do you start? That IPM list, right? The overall health of the plant, the stem, the main stem, the branches. Then you move to the leaves, the flower, the fruit. You might not see the flower or the fruit. You might just have the first four. And then you can start to track down what might be wrong with this plant. So the other thing is, I would be careful about implementing more than one thing at a time. It's like you try this out and then wait and see. It's not, you don't want to try too many things, because then you don't really know what fixed the issue. Sometimes it is a multi-pronged sort of approach, but you might, the simple issue first, right? And usually, so if you've got irrigation, so there's usually like, you're going to start with irrigation, check the irrigation first. That's almost always your first step. Like, is it watered properly, over, under, whatever. Then you're going to check for pests. I would also check for sort of spacing and airflow and things like that, but that might be kind of I think that's an addendum to irrigation. So then you're going to look at the pests, and then, if you just can't solve the issue, then you might need to swap the plant out for something else. Okay, you've executed the plan. I hope that I feel like I kind of bobbled my way through that, but I hope that made sense a little bit. So basically you go through the problem solving steps. Don't try to implement too much at one time. Start with the irrigation, move on to if it's a pest issue, the pests, or, pruning or whatever, but it's kind of like one issue at a time. Okay. And then especially if it's pests, it takes time for those things to, so if you're implementing a plan, it takes time for that to sort of start looking better. And then you have to have sort of a range of time you're willing to wait to see if it's getting better. Could be 2 weeks or something like that with pests. See if you're starting to make some headway.
I have a little question about not pests, but pets.
I'm sorry, it cut off. Can you say that
Oh,
again?
Not pests, but pets,
Pets.
like, dogs.
Yeah.
How would you, what kind of grass or what do you say, what would you suggest that might look good, that might work for dogs who want to, who like a certain space and want to claim their space and by peeing on it and pretty soon the plant's dead. How do you guys work on that?
Whew. I think that's a little too specific for the,
Okay.
if we can get a 15 to 20-second answer from somebody, that'd be great, but it's a little specific for this lesson.
Okay.
Anybody?
Well,
No.
there was a, oh, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Well, I was just gonna say, I have 2 Great Pyrenees dogs, so if you can figure it out, tell me.
Yes.
No, I was just gonna quickly say that, if there are yellow spots appearing in the yard, it's most probably the dogs burning the grass, right? So you gotta figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the never-ending quests. People are looking for dog tough turf a lot of the time.
I've
yeah.
had semi-decent luck with Carapia. I know it's not totally native, but it's been all right compared to other grasses with dog pee.
Good. Okay, so record keeping. So here's your client. Let's assume it's a long-term client. You're not going to go through a lot of stuff if you're just going there to fix little, some irrigation or something. I wouldn't imagine you're going to go through a whole inventory of the client's garden if you're just there to fix something. But it is good. So if you have an ongoing client though, I would imagine you want to keep track of the plants they have. And here's an example of a spreadsheet you might create. What's in the front yard, what's in the zone. Apparently they have 2 plants and 2 zones in the front yard. I'm kidding. It's just an example. You would list the plants by zone A, and you got a list the common name, scientific name, when it was planted, where you bought it from. That's a good idea. All of these things can help you start to see, and clearly Las Politas is 1 cent cheaper than Theodore Payne. So, save that money. I don't know what this code means, develop your own. And then I think really important is what you've done to this plant. When did you prune it? Things like that. It might not be bad to, coppice it, because you're going to forget. Did I coppice that, 2 years ago? Was it 3 years ago? You might remember it, but what if you have, 10 clients that you're dealing with? You might not remember. So it's good to keep that in mind. Here's a example of, I guess this is a not a spreadsheet, database, and I think somebody said this is like a Microsoft. Is it Access? What's the name of this one? Anybody? Somebody created this, and so it just has the boxes, and you can tick them off and create your database for your customer. And sort of the picture of the problem. This is, so here's a photo of the actual plant, and down below here's the beautiful magazine photo of it. One thing I wanted to point out is there's a really cool way to collect. If you go, let's try this. I'm going to go here. So Cowscape, you can sort of create that inventory pretty quickly. Oh, I was going to show you this too. Is it now? Is it time? Let's see. Yes, I think it is. Escape. I'm gonna go.
I dropped the website in the chat in case anybody wants to visit Calscape.
So calscape.org, I just want to show you. So I'm going to type this in. Salvia apiana.
We can't see your screen.
Okay. There it is. Okay, so I typed in, here's Calscape, typed in Salvia apiana. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's the address, Salvia apiana. And then down here, if you are collecting, let's say you're making an inventory or you want to present something to your client, down here, really tiny, print plant sign. If you click on that, you get this. It's not very big here, but you get a whole, you get the picture of the plant, you get this list of its characteristics, the water requirements, all of that. So definitely check that out. I don't think we need to type in Calscape for you. You should know about that one by now, and it also has cultivars, which is surprising, even though they don't have, of course, the cultivars on the map, they still will have, you can still print a plant sign of a cultivar. It's pretty cool for creating that inventory.
Eric, can I add to that really quick?
Yeah, hit it.
You can make a plant, I mean, people probably know this already, but you can make a plant list on Calscape and have as many plants as you plan on planting or that they have or whatever.
Mhm.
And then you can click export to spreadsheet and it will just automatically create a whole, data sheet on all your plants. And I find that really useful. It's basically what you're showing, but with a bunch of different plants too.
Cool, thank you. All right, where's my thing?
Eric, would you mind showing that first screen for the database, the one prior to that one? I would like, there you go. I just wanted to get that information because it has the area, the coastal basin foothill
Right,
mountains.
yeah.
That's interesting.
Screen capture?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see. So, all right. One thing I wanted to show you, let's see, oh, we're doing pretty good on time. One thing I wanted to show you was the little, it's a spreadsheet. And it's available to you guys if you don't have this kind of stuff already. Let's see. I'm gonna go there. So if I get out of here, Jesus. Can you see that? It says pricing worksheet on there. Can you guys see it? Up in the corner? Yeah. Okay. So this is a spreadsheet that I didn't create. And it's, I'm going to skip this turf garden, but actually I'm going to hit it just to show you. So basically they're saying front and side gardens. Here's a list square footage. You can see it right here of the garden. So you've got in the front, you've got 1,000 square feet of turf, 200 square feet of bedding plants. It's saying it takes 4 hours a month to take care of that turf. So an hour a visit, perhaps. Your cost for labor per hour is 40 an hour over here. That's up to you, of course, your agreement with your client. Your bedding plants here, 200 square feet, and for a total of 1,200 square feet. Hours per month, 7. Here's your total cost per month, $280. Then your back garden, same thing. It's just, and then it's got a list of sort of costs for various things you might be fixing or adding to the garden. Here's a labor cost down here. Stuff like that. Okay, so going back, then you've got your native garden. So this is how this comes before, right? Before you make your proposal to your okay, here we are with your native garden. It's 1,200 square feet of native plants, approximately 8 hours a month. Cost per month, $320. Annual cost is here, and then it averages out to $3.20 per square foot. Do you pros think about square footage at all? Do you charge per square foot?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Then more square feet, the more you have to walk. Well, the further you have to carry all that debris.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So similar thing. All of this. Yeah. Tim said we could share this with you guys, and if you're interested in it, you know. And then here's another one. Task timing. The words are a little bunched up here, but it's kind of runs through this section down here with the text. It kind of runs through all that stuff we talked about, what you'd be doing in year 1, what you'd be doing in year 2, you know, so weekly visits in year 1, every 2 weeks, year 2, every 2 weeks in year 3, every 2 weeks in year 4, depending, right? And then you're gonna, this is a rough estimate of what you'd be doing, how much time you'd be spending on various plants. So it's kind of good to know, like, okay, there are 15 plants that I'm gonna have to deadhead. In this case, Salvia clevelandii is some serious deadheading because that is a giant sage, right? It's a fair amount of work. I mean, if it's an Apiana, it's going to take you 5 minutes, but it is good to keep an eye on, like, okay, it takes me this long to work on a certain kind of plant. It takes me this long to do this. I got to limb up this tree. That takes me a certain amount of time. Applying mulch, cleaning up, you know, all of that, and then you get your hours. And it's a good way of, like, oh, right, I kind of forgot that applying mulch actually takes, you know, a certain amount of time, you know. So just wanted to let you guys know that's available if you're interested. Signs of success. So who was it? Somebody was, Pauline, I think, was asking. So this is that kind of metrics thing. This is how you start to talk to people about, like, what is making this a successful garden, you know? And I think it comes in a lot of different flavors, right? You know, are they noticing more butterflies, more activity in the yard, more, you know, like, are you noticing birds, lizards, things like that? You know, all that habitat that is so valuable, right? And if you're putting native plants, if you're getting your client to maybe, you know, when they have a problem with a plant and they swap it out or whatever, you know, as you start to add those native plants, that habitat starts to show up. And that is a guarantee. Let's see. So you can, yeah, this is a lot of stuff about sort of convincing him that habitat is good. I assume you're going to be doing that beforehand, but it's good to sort of, like, touch base with them, I suppose, you know. So managing expectations and limitations, what owner wants, expects versus what's realistic. I think Merrill talked a little bit about that. It takes time for plants to reach maturity. Depending, I mean, a lot of salvias will show up the first year, no problem.
Are you showing us slides, Eric? Because we're looking at this spreadsheet.
I am, and I'm going to fix that. Sorry.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Let's make sure this one. So is it moving for you? Metrics. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Signs of success. There it is. So you're basically trying to create diversity, get some life into that garden, and then you're managing expectations, and this is happening, at all stages. What are they expecting? And then you have to say, well, it takes time for things to grow. Your water bill might not be going down right away if you've got a lot of new plants in, or, hey, guess what? You're overwatering. We're going to cut your water bill a little bit, depending, right? And then as Merrill mentioned, low maintenance does not mean no maintenance. That's a common misconception about native plants, and then also, plants die. So that happens. And we have to sort of just let, kind of let them understand that it happens, sometimes we have a good clue about why it happens and sometimes we don't. So this woman came in with, why is my ceanothus looking so poorly? I get a lot of sort of blind questions like that, right? Why is my ceanothus getting dieback? Why is this happening? You're asking them questions. Oh, she's like, it was healthy all, for 3 or 4 years. It was great. Why now? I'm saying, okay, so it must have been okay with the sun. Was there any, any sun events, anything going on? And as I'm asking questions, it turns out, oh yeah, the plumbers were there and they completely flooded the garden. I don't know how, but anyway, they just soaked the garden, like drenched it, and now the ceanothus is not happy. So it's interesting how that works. I don't know why I brought that up. It's just that it takes questions. I guess it's you have to do a little sleuthing sometimes as to why this plant died, or is not doing well, and it might not always be apparent. This plant might be suffering and stuff is happening when you're not there, that you're not aware of. So just ask those questions. What's going on? Anything happen? And then you're talking to them. Oh, right. This happened. I forgot. My husband walked through the garden with a blowtorch one day, who knows? So opportunities for growth. Yeah, so I think some of you are aware we have garden tours. Other native plant nurseries have sort of community type events. As you create these gardens, you might want to start thinking about getting them accepted to a garden tour, a showcase, things like that. Of course, you're taking pictures, you've got your website, all of that stuff. I don't know what take advantage of the by inviting your clients. I don't know what that means. Participate yourself by offering to speak, telling stories of gardens you have maintained. Okay, so this is, say you're part of the local CNPS chapter and you have a presentation, you have something, you feel like you have something to offer, at your HOA, for instance, how I solved various issues, ongoing issues at my HOA, how I navigated that, you know, who knows? Yeah, so definitely would recommend, you know, reaching out and getting to know people and sort of just being involved. Promoting your certification, what you can do. So confirm that your business cards, publications, conference brochures, and social media profiles show your current certification status. Yeah, you know, whatever. It's got all those logos on it, you know, LADWP. It's got, you know, the US Green Building Count. That's not nothing. Those are not nothing organizations, and California Native Plant Society. So all those organizations came together to, they had to sign off on this program. So that's something, you know. Some of these seem a little silly, but, you know, it's just thoughts on how you can take advantage of this thing. Use that logo for sure. And then lastly, be proud of hanging out, being here, weathering the horrible YouTube presentations. Yeah, things like that. Doing the homework, right? And hanging in there and going to the, hopefully the in-person classes. And what we will do is, if anybody has, we've got your name on file. So if anybody has any questions about, you know, did this person actually do this? You know, hey, does this person actually know what they're talking about? We're going to say, yeah. We can't directly promote you on our websites, but yeah, this is all that, you know, we're offering ways for you to identify yourself that you've gone through this certificate.
We can't promote you, but tomorrow sometime, or maybe Tuesday, you'll be getting the logo. You can't see it. It looks like this, but you'll be getting a computer version so you can put on all your social media.
Yeah, you know, that poppy, I think it goes somewhere. You know, a lot of people know about this, the poppy, the Theodore Payne poppy. I think that's it for us tonight. Oh, you can make plant labels if you want. I don't think you really need any instruction on how to do that. It's just a thought on how to add to somebody's garden. So I would say we're done here.